Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the November 29th, 2021 Alpharetta City Council meeting and public hearing. Go ahead and call this meeting to order, and I will note for the record that all members of council are present and accounted for. And as always, we begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you're able, please stand and join us. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item up on tonight's agenda will be the consent agenda, and the consent agenda only has one item this evening. That is the council meeting minutes from the meeting of November 15th, 2021. Is there anything that a council member would like to remove from the consent agenda at this time? Seeing none, I'll call for a motion.
Motion to approve. Second.
Have a motion by Councilman Heights, second by Councilman Burnett to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor, please vote yes. Otherwise, vote no. Sure. Councilman Binder.
Thank you. I'm actually trying to abstain. I wasn't here.
Okay.
So we'll note for the record that Councilwoman Richard was not present, so she will abstain from the minutes since she wasn't there to participate. Everyone try one more time. All those in, voila. You just had to get a little further away from the electronics, James. So the motion does pass 6-1 with one abstention. So that'll wrap up the consent agenda, and we'll move on to the public hearing portion of tonight's meeting. First item up under public hearing is PH-21-AB-27, minimum distance requirement, waiver request for 241 South Main Street. Ms. Shapiro, you have the floor.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The first item before you is a minimum distance requirement waiver request for 241 South Main Street, also will be futurely known as SJ Market, as the property here on this location map, located at 241 South Main Street, also with Roswell Street here as well. So for SJ Market, according to the applicant, the proposed uses for this restaurant, it's a Southern style restaurant at this location. They're gonna have walk-up counter service, dine-in service, and the indoor and patio. And because of COVID and the demand for their clientele, also to go order pickup, catering pickup, and then also catering deliveries at this location, in addition to their downtown location as well. So for this waiver request, the city code section that applies specifically is 417A3. No person may sell or offer to sell alcoholic beverages within 300 feet of the property line of any church, shrine, chapel of a mortuary, or other place used exclusively for religious services in any school grounds or college campus. The applicant did provide a survey of the property. This parcel here, this is Amana Academy, a Fulton County charter school, and based on this survey, it is 82 feet within that, within distance to SJ Market. So our city code section 417E does allow city council to grant a variance to the minimum distance requirements between a school and an eating establishment seeking an on-premise consumption license, provided that they meet 7 conditions. This location did propose to sell beer and wine on premises to the guests, either as catering pickup or those that'll be dining in the facility as well, based on their application. So for those 7 conditions, the first one, the location has previously been operated as an eating establishment licensed by the city and the state for the sale of alcoholic beverages for on-premises consumption within 5 years immediately preceding the application for the new license. 2, the primary entrance to the eating establishment is physically separated either by a street, fence, shrubbery, a parking lot, another building, or some other form of physical barrier from the school grounds or campus, which is in close proximity to the eating establishment. Part 3, there are practical or economic difficulties in carrying out the strict letter of the distance requirements, including the fact that the proposed premises from which alcoholic beverages for on-premise consumption would be sold already contains a commercial kitchen. 4, the request is not based primarily on the desire to reduce the cost of developing the site. 5, the proposed variance will not substantially diminish the property in value or the character of the area surrounding the site and will not substantially interfere with or injure the rights of others whose property would be affected by the variance. 6, the proposed variance will not be detrimental to the public health, safety, or welfare, result in additional expense or the creation of nuisances or conflict with other applicable law. And last, 7, the proposed variance will have no material effect on the use of the property on which the school grounds or campus is located as either a school grounds or a college campus. In terms of public participation, both the applicant and the staff notified all property owners within 500 feet of the property. We did not receive any letters of support or opposition. However, earlier this afternoon, we did receive communication from Amana Academy saying that they would most likely be here tonight in opposition, and I believe they might be here as well. So at this time, based on reviewing the application and the criteria in which a variance could be granted, staff does believe that it meets all of the requirements set forth in 417E. This location was previously operated as a Pizza Hut. Within the past 5 years, their business license was actually inactive a year and a week over a year ago. The primary entrance is also separated by Roswell Street. I believe there is some parking in that rear area as well. They do have a commercial kitchen on site. The variance is not based on a desire to reduce the cost of developing the site and will not diminish the surrounding property value. The variance will also not be detrimental to public health, safety, or welfare, or conflict with any other applicable laws, and it will have no material effect on the Amana Academy property. So that is all that I have for the presentation from staff, but if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Councilman Burnett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Lauren, what's the time of the school across the street? Do you know the hours?
I do not, but I do believe that someone from the school is here, might be able to speak to that. Yes.
And second question, do we know the hours of operation of the restaurant?
That I do not believe was included in their application, but the applicant is present this evening and could share more information on that.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council at this time? Councilman Binder.
I'm not sure if you know this, but there used to be a restaurant in the same complex as Amana Academy. And is that still open today? I mean, did they serve
Are you speaking of Ria Balsa's? That's, no.
a Thai restaurant?
Oh, the Thai restaurant, no.
Because this-
I'm not aware.
Any other questions from council at this time? Thank you, Ms. Shapiro. Would the applicant like to come forward?
Good evening, council. Excuse me, I've been playing with a little bit of a hoarse throat lately. Had a big week last week with turkeys. So I was up late at night basting turkeys for half the city, I think, which is a good thing. Anyway, thank you very much for hearing me. The whole idea behind this, and I'll answer the question.
I'm sorry to interrupt you,
I'm
but
sorry.
if you could, just state your name and address for the record.
David Flipowitz, 260 Canton Street, Alpharetta, Georgia. Owner of Smoke Check Restaurant. So with the dynamic that's changed with the COVID and all the deliveries that we're doing, we're experiencing a lot of bottleneck area in the back of the restaurant with people and customers and patrons, and we're having to change because we've lost a lot of off-premise catering. So this idea was to go down the street, do a catering kitchen that was kind of opened, not late. It's not going to be a bar. It was more of a convenience that if a guy came in or a gal came in, had a sandwich, could have a beer or a glass of wine while they were there and head on, or pick up their catering and go. A good buddy of mine that owns Zaxby's around the corner said, Dave, if you're going to do that with, DoorDash and an Uber driver to come pick up a sandwich, you might as well offer that to a customer, because the idea was maybe it's just literally a ghost kitchen. I thought that location would be kind of neat if we renovated it, turned it into something cool. I kind of think that's the South Alpharetta growing area to the sidewalks, and want to beautify the building. It will be open until 8 o'clock at night. Might not even be open 7 days a week. We might be closed on Sunday, but I'd hate to say that now without the business model being put together and how much construction happened to the building. So that was the intent. It's not to be a late night place. It's not to be a bar of any sorts. I've been at Smoke Jack for 17 years, this December 27th. My intent is to be a family eatery with good food. And if you happen to have something to drink, that's great. If you don't, that's not the end of the world. But the business model in today's package, the restaurants have been beat up pretty hard. I think if we don't have that revenue stream, it changes the dynamic of what we can do.
Any questions from council for the applicant? Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Ms. Shapiro, do we have any public comment cards on this item?
We do, Mr. Mayor. We have one speaker, Ehab Jalil, 12559 Arnold Mill Road.
Please come forward, sir.
Mayor Gilvin and council members, thanks so much for allowing me to speak. Mr. Regis as well. I'm the executive director of Amana Academy Charter School, located at 285 South Main Street. Amana Academy is an A-rated, STEM-certified Fulton County public school with 800 students who primarily reside in Alpharetta, Milton, and Roswell. We're a member of the Alpharetta Business Association, and I've attended meetings at Smoke Jack and enjoyed their food and their hospitality. We're thrilled for Smoke Jack's success during this pandemic that led them to want to establish this ghost kitchen in our area. The new establishment will be directly across the street from us along Roswell Street. On the matter before you, I've consulted with our staff members, parents, and our governing board members. And we're all in agreement that Amana Academy opposes this variance to request to sell or serve alcoholic beverages so close to our school. Our opposition does not take away from the fact that we want David and his crew to be successful in this new location. We believe allowing the variance sets a precedent for future development that we know is coming down South Main Street. As the Department of Transportation work nears its completion, we're committed to upgrading our facilities in line with the city's planning study, and we plan to utilize all 100,000 square feet of our building, including the old Satay House Thai restaurant that is directly across the street from the proposed site. Satay House, we were required by the Department of Education to stop Satay House from serving alcoholic beverages when we purchased the property. That was a Department of Education requirement, and also a legal requirement by the state. We do not feel that it's in the best interest for the safety of children to be surrounded by establishments that sell alcoholic beverages, especially as some motorists cut through our property between South Main Street and Roswell Streets. We also know that such a variance goes against the intent of Georgia Code 3-3-21, which specifically prohibits the sale of alcoholic beverages near churches and schools within 300 feet. This request is obviously a fraction of that amount. If the council does allow for this variance, we ask that you impose a limitation on the ingress and egress to the new establishment only via South Main Street and not Roswell Street. And also, if possible, that the consumption of beverages happens in spaces facing South Main Street and not Roswell Street. Thank you for allowing me to voice our school's perspective and for giving me this time this evening. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Councilman Burnett?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When the Satay House was at, next to your school, were there any issues or were they decent neighbors?
No, they were decent neighbors. They understood the requirements that we had under the state guidelines and the state, law, basically. And so it turned out for them, most of their business was lunch business. And so alcohol was not a large portion of their sales. And so they ceased to sell alcoholic beverages.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Mitchell and then Councilman Hutz.
Thank you for being here tonight, Mr. Hibb. When Amana Academy went into the school, it went into a location with a restaurant, the Thai restaurant that was serving alcohol.
That's right.
And it also went into the establishment when Pizza Hut was there serving alcohol.
That's correct.
As well. Were there ever any problems with Pizza Hut and the fact that they were serving alcohol for many years?
No,
during your existence?
So the issue became live in a sense when we purchased the property. When the nonprofit, Amana Academy is a 501c3 nonprofit organization authorized by the Fulton County Board of Education. And so when the purchase happened, that's when the requirement came into effect within our building. So Satay House was contiguous to the school and therefore they needed to cease selling alcohol. Other establishments that were across the street from us, for example, Pizza Hut and also Red's Package Store, they were grandfathered in.
So there were no problems?
There were no issues. There were
Okay.
no issues.
Thank you.
Councilman Hutz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You may have addressed what my question was. How much further away is Red's Liquor Store? And have you encountered any issues with patrons of Red's Liquor Store on the other side of Highway 9 from the proposed location?
Yeah, Red's is very close to the 300-foot requirement. I've never actually measured it, but you've got the 4-lane highway, Highway 9, between us and Red's. And I think with the expansion of Highway 9, it's actually going to be even farther away. So they meet that requirement as I understand it.
Any other questions from council? Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Ms. Shapiro, do we have any other public comment cards?
We do not, sir.
But if there is anyone else here who would like to come forward and speak on this item, now is your opportunity to do so. Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion that we approve PH 21AB 27 minimum distance requirement waiver request for 241 South Main Street.
Second.
Have a motion to approve PH-21-AB-27 minimum distance requirement waiver request for 241 South Main Street. That approval was made. Motion was made by Mayor Pro Tem Mitchell and a second by Councilman Merkel. Any discussion? Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you. I can approve this tonight because there was the Pizza Hut going on for years when Amanda was there. And also another reason, after eating in Smoke Jacks many times, I've never encountered someone being overserved or, that their staff is always very conscientious about how they handle alcohol sales and things like that. So given the distance, and it's only 85 feet within the 300-foot distance, and their precedents, that's why I voted to approve it for you all tonight. Thank you.
Councilman Merkel?
I also feel the need just to air that a little bit, and I do appreciate it. And he has been a great neighbor. When I first got elected, he invited me over for a tour. It's an amazing facility. The things you're doing over there are just impeccable. It doesn't get away from the fact that it was still a school that was moved into a business district. So, historically, even though it was a government center, the people around there had the rights to do with the business that they were doing. And so I think it's a unique situation, or definitely a different situation than somebody going into a school zone and requesting to pop something up. It's kind of a mix, and that's why I feel that I support it, because Mr. Flipwitz is right, that the city is moving down that way. And as the Highway 9 does change, y'all I've heard talk of what y'all want to do with the building. I think it's amazing when it can be done. I don't think a to-go restaurant down the street that it's just selling beer and wine is going to have an effect on the quality of the location that you have. And I can't support the East Main or South Main Street entrance only. The traffic pattern wouldn't work. It's got to be off of Roswell Street too. So Dave's been a good business partner. He's 17 years. I've known him since day one. I think he will do a lot to help benefit screening or, you know, making it not obvious and sitting outside with a kegmeister or something. So I do have respect for both on this situation. Thank you.
Councilman Burnett?
To echo those sentiments, and, you know, thank you to, you know, the school too, because advocating for your kids is incredibly important. And even though I disagree in this case, given the, you know, the business climate and the way, the fact that you guys had moved in to a facility, I can't in good conscience dictate that somebody across the street that could sell alcohol before can't sell alcohol today. And I also, you know, but it resonates with me that you'd take the time to come out here and articulate on behalf of your moms and dads and the kids. So thank you.
Any other discussion from council? Seeing none, the motion was to approve PH-21-AB-27 minimum distance requirement waiver request for 241 South Main Street. All those in favor of approving that motion, please vote yes. Otherwise, vote accordingly. And it does pass unanimously. So that'll wrap up the public hearing portion of tonight's meeting. We'll move on to old business. First item under old business this evening will be PH-21-18, Code of Ordinances text amendments, alcoholic beverages distance requirements, and ancillary tasting license. This is the second reading, so there'll be no public comment. Ms. Cook, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. There actually are two changes from the first reading, and these were two changes that were recommended by council, and I'll put it up here on the overhead. So one change, I think it was Councilman Burnett who asked for mortuary to be removed. So we've removed that. You can see by the arrow. So that's the only change under the distance requirements. And then I believe it was Councilman Hypes who brought up the fact that we had flights as well as 16 ounces. So we just changed that to where it's a total of 16 ounces. And those are the only two changes, and if there's any other questions, I'll be glad to try to answer those.
Any questions for staff from council? Thank you, Ms. Cook. Since this is the second reading, there's only been mild changes. I'll ask that Mr. Stacy please read the ordinance.
An ordinance to amend Chapter 4 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Alpharetta, Georgia, to add a definition for craft beer, to add distance requirements for retail package store, to amend conditions of license issuance related to ancillary wine tasting license, to repeal conflicting ordinances, and for other purposes.
Thanks, sir. Any questions from council at this time? Seeing none, I'll call for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll offer a motion to approve PH-21-18, the Code of the City of Alpharetta text amendments, distance requirements, and ancillary tastings, and the ordinance is read by Mr. Stacy.
Have a motion
Second.
Have a motion by Councilwoman Richard and a second by Councilman Burnett. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion to approve PH-21-18, Code of Ordinances text amendments, alcoholic beverages distance requirements, and ancillary tasting license, please vote yes. Otherwise, vote accordingly. And that does pass unanimously. Next item up under old business will be an ordinance to amend Chapter 4 alcoholic beverages of the Code of the City of Alpharetta, Georgia. This is also the second reading. Mr. Regas, you have the floor.
Mayor and Council, there have been no changes from the first reading.
Thanks, sir. Any questions from council at this time? Thanks, sir. Do I have a motion from council on this item?
Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion to approve the ordinance change to amend Chapter 4 alcoholic beverage license in the city code for Alpharetta, Georgia.
Second.
Mr. Stacy, I failed to ask you to read that ordinance.
Sorry, I didn't catch it either.
I withdraw my motion.
An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Alpharetta, Georgia, to amend Chapter 4 alcoholic beverages of the code of the city of Alpharetta, Georgia, to eliminate any conflict between the city charter and Section 4.9E regarding qualification of those seeking elective office, to provide for an effective date, to repeal conflicting ordinances, and for other purposes.
Thank you, sir. Now that the ordinance has been read for the second reading, I will once again call for the motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the ordinance to amend Chapter 4 alcoholic beverages to the city code of Alpharetta, Georgia.
We once again have a motion by Councilmember Burnett to approve an ordinance to amend Chapter 4 alcoholic beverages of the code of the city of Alpharetta, Georgia. And it was once again seconded by Councilman Hypes. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please vote yes. Otherwise, vote no.
Oh, my goodness.
And the item does pass 6-1. So that'll wrap up old business portion of tonight's meeting, and we'll move on to the new business portion. First item under new business is RFP 22-104, RFP 22-105, citywide landscape maintenance and on-call landscape construction. Director Sasevich, you have the floor.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. 49R is the annual landscape maintenance for the city of Alpharetta. Contract expires in February, or the end of January, I should say, next year. And we issued out two separate RFPs, one for level 1 maintenance, which is our Rucker Road corridor, our roundabouts, and a level 2 maintenance, which is more the mow, blow, go scenario. And the award from staff did off the RFP, off of cost, off of the project management that they're going to have, as well as the number of crews they'll have in the city. We're recommending Russell Landscape an amount not to exceed $675,224 at an annual expense. And there will be some overlap we're going to deal with at the mid-year budget, where we'll need an additional $115,200 to carry us over due to the increase of the contract for the rest of this fiscal year. So from February 1st to June 30th, we'll have a mid-year budget amendment.
Thanks, sir. Do we have any questions from council on this item? Councilman Binder.
Pete, this does include watering, like in the downtown area?
This does not, only when they plant the new landscape.
Okay.
This does not include anything along Haynesbridge, I'll call it the square of Old Mill Parkway to the south, Milton Avenue to the north, Haynesbridge, and 9. The city center is not part of this contract.
One time thing. I guess the only, on the major roads, if they could just avoid the peak hours, and then also if they're stopping, maybe have some of their guys do traffic control, because there's been a lot of swerving in two-lane roads.
I understand. The only time they do the water truck comes out is when it's part of the maintenance program of new install.
Yep, so it's two things, the water, but then when they do the maintenance on the main roads like Rucker or Kimball.
Make sure they're off the
Kimball's,
road.
yeah, make sure that they maybe have somebody directing, so there's not
We'll do.
a
And
traffic incident.
the good news with that is Russell is familiar, is GDOT certified, so their traffic control, they'll know it.
Perfect.
Do
Appreciate it.
400. Yep.
Any other questions from council on this item? Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Ms. Shapiro, do we have any public comment cards on this item?
We do not, sir.
But if anyone would like to come forward and speak on the citywide landscape maintenance and on-call landscaping construction, now's your opportunity. Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion that we approve RFP 22-104 and RFP 22-105 citywide landscape maintenance and on-call landscape construction for a total of both of them not to exceed $675,224.
We have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Mitchell and a second by Councilman Binder, and that was to approve RFP 22-104 and RFP 22-105, citywide landscape maintenance and on-call landscape construction. To Russell Landscaping, and authorize the mayor to execute all necessary documents in an amount not to exceed $349,360.
A total of 675. 224 for both.
Thank you for that correction. We would have only gotten half of that done. Project total cost will be not to exceed $675,224. Everybody clear on that? Thank you. All right, all those in favor, please vote yes, otherwise vote accordingly.
She switched her battery.
And the item does pass unanimously.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Thank you, Pete. Next item up under new business is Land and Water Conservation Fund Grant Award. Mr. Graves, would you come give us the good news, please, sir?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, I'm here to request for a resolution of acceptance of a grant award that we applied for back in October of 2020. We came before you and asked for permission to apply for the grant, and we have found out that we have been awarded the $500,000 with a matching $500,000 award. This will be for the Alpha Loop portion between Chelsea Walk and Westside Parkway, and the city is currently under design of that project, and Public Works informs me they're planning to bid that in the spring of 2022. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer those.
Any questions from council on this item? Seeing none, thank you, sir. Shapiro, do we have any public comment cards on this item?
We do not, sir.
But if anyone would like to come forward, speak on the Land and Water Conservation Fund Grant Award.
Got to read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Stacy. Please read the resolution.
Thank Councilman Hypes on that one. A resolution to authorize the mayor and city council to approve the contract for a state grant between the Georgia Department of Natural Resources and the city of Alpharetta in the amount of $500,000. Whereas at the regular meeting of the city of Alpharetta, Georgia, held on the 29th day of November 2021, a motion was made and duly seconded that the city of Alpharetta agrees to the terms of the contract for a state grant between the Georgia Department of Natural Resources and the city of Alpharetta for a grant of financial assistance to construct a portion of the Alpha Loop trail system, and authorize the mayor to execute said contract on behalf of the city of Alpharetta, and accept the grant provided for in said contract in the amount of $500,000, and now therefore be resolved by the city of Alpharetta of Fulton County, Georgia, that the terms and conditions of the contract between the Georgia Department of Natural Resources and the city of Alpharetta are hereby agreed to, that the mayor is authorized and empowered to execute said contract and any subsequent amendments thereto on behalf of the city of Alpharetta, and that the grant provided for in said contract in the amount of $500,000 is hereby accepted to be used under the terms and conditions of said contract, and that sufficient funds have been designated to assure the acquisition and/or development, operation, and maintenance of the facilities and/or delivery of services as identified in said contract.
Thank you, sir. Now, if there's anyone in the public that would like to come forward and speak on this item, now is your opportunity to do so. Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'll offer a motion to ask council to approve the attached resolution accepting the Georgia Department of Natural Resources Land and Water Conservation Grant and authorizing the mayor to execute all required documents, and the resolution as read by Mr. Stacy.
Second.
Have a motion by Councilwoman Richard and a second by Councilman Binder, and that was to approve the resolution accepting the Land and Water Conservation Grant Award as read by City Attorney Mike Stacy. Councilman Hypes?
Applaud community development. I mean, we asked, and if you don't ask, you're not going to get anything, and they worked it, and The city taxpayers got to realize we just got a $500,000 grant, and that is significant, and just makes me feel great about our city and just having the best staff in all of Georgia that went out and got a $500,000 grant for the Alpha Loop, no less. Good job.
Any other discussion amongst council? That being said, all those in favor of the motion, please vote yes. Otherwise, vote no. And it does pass unanimously to accept that $500,000 grant. Next item up will be the Alpharetta Impact Fee Program update. Mr. Graves, you once again have the floor.
Good evening. Tonight we're asking that we go back and relook at our impact fee program and update it for our current capital improvement program list. The last time that we had taken a look and developed our impact fee schedule was back in 2015, and since then we've completed several projects and we've put a bunch of projects on our to-do list, and we want to make sure that we are trying to capture the accurate amount of funds based on our capital improvement program. As you recall, the impact fee program is an effort to assign new development their proportional share of the cost for the program to of capital improvements to accommodate the new development. So this is really a shared cost situation where we're trying to get the new development to pay a portion of the cost of the infrastructure that we're building to help support them coming into our city. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer that for you.
Any questions from council on this item? Thank you, sir. Checking my notes. I don't see any resolutions or ordinances, right? All right, just checking. Ms. Shapiro, do we have any public comment cards on this item?
We do not, sir.
But if you would like to come forward and speak on this matter, now is your chance to do so. Mr. Graves.
I did want to add one more thing, that the actual fees for this project are actually paid for by the impact fee program itself. We're able to use the administrative fees component of our current impact fee that we collect to pay for this update. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. And since you brought that up, is this item already in the budget, or do we need to add this?
This was a budgeted item, yes.
Thank you. And since no one else jumped up to speak on this item, we'll go ahead and close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I will offer a motion for council to award Ross and Associates a single-source contract for the Alpharetta Impact Fee Program update in an amount not to exceed $69,500, and authorize the mayor to execute all necessary documents.
Second.
Have a motion by Councilwoman Richard and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Mitchell. That was to award Ross and Associates a single-source contract for the Alpharetta Impact Fee Program update in an amount not to exceed $69,500. All those in favor of the motion, please vote yes. Otherwise, vote accordingly. And it does pass 6-1. Next item up on the agenda for new business will be the renewal of the Miracle League Facility Use Agreement. Director you do not look like Director Rogers. Ms. Young, would you please assume his role?
I will. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Gilvin and City Council members. I'm here on behalf of the Recreation, Parks, and Cultural Services Department to request that we renew the MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding, for the North Metro Miracle League Field out in North Park. That agreement was entered into in 2003, and the agreement was that North Metro Miracle League was to build and program that field, and they have done so over the past 20 years and have served the community, the special needs community, in an exceptional way, and we are requesting that we have another 20-year agreement with them. Do you have any questions?
Any questions from council? Councilman Merkel.
So just to do the math, this current agreement runs through the end of next year.
That is correct. They're requesting that it be done a year earlier due to some changes in their organization.
Got it. Thank you.
Any other questions from council on this item? Thank you, Ms. Young.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Shapiro, do you have any public comment cards on this item?
We do not, sir.
But if there's anyone here that would like to come forward and speak on this matter, now's your opportunity to do so. Seeing none, we will close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion to approve the renewal of the Miracle League facility use agreement for an additional 20 years, starting at the end of the expiration of the original 2003 contract, and approve the mayor to do whatever he needs to do to get it done.
We have a motion by Councilman Merkel, a second by Councilman Binder, and that was to approve as presented the renewal of the facility use agreement between the City of Alpharetta and the North Atlanta Miracle League, as outlined by Councilman Merkel in his motion. Any discussion? I'd just like to say that the North Metro Atlanta Miracle League is an amazing organization which does an amazing work, and we're very grateful for the partnership over the last 20 years. And while I won't be around for the next 20 on this day, as I look forward to the support of that organization. So, all that being said, no other comments. All those in favor of the motion, please vote yes. Otherwise, vote no. And it does pass unanimously. So, ladies and gentlemen, that will wrap up the new business portion of tonight's meeting. And as we draw towards the end of the meeting, we do have public comment available. So if any of you have been sitting here and haven't had your chance to speak your piece, now's your opportunity. Seeing no one, we'll close public comment. Do we have any reports this evening? Councilwoman Richard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Two things. Want to just note that we will have our community zoning information meeting on December 8th at 6 p.m. via Zoom. We have 4 applications, one of which includes the Continuum project on Windward Parkway and Westside Parkway. And then secondly, want to welcome our newest member to the Community Development Department, Lance Morcell. You want to stand up? And Lance joined Community Development today as the Economic Development Manager, and we're thrilled to have him as part of the new Economic Development team. So welcome.
Councilman Merkel.
All right, we're kicking it off. The next 3 Fridays in a row from 5 to 9, there's scheduled events in downtown, starting with the Christmas tree lighting this Friday. I think it's scheduled 5 to 10, but the actual Christmas tree lighting's at 6:30. So check the city website. It'll give you details of all the different events and programs that will be going on for those 3 Friday nights in a row. In addition to a whole lot more stuff in downtown Alpharetta, but those are the 3 main ones we're focusing on right now, the 3rd, the 10th, and the 17th.
Are there any other reports this evening? Seeing none, ladies and gentlemen, we are adjourned.